Okay. How is everyone today? I'm very grateful to be speaking to you from the unceded territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, and it was amazing to have that welcome. Hey, we're together. That's it? That's it? No, seriously, like we're actually together for actually this is the 5th year of VIFF AMP. There was kind of a 6th year, but it wasn't called AMP, so we don't really count that one. You know, it's so great that we could pull this off and have members of the Talent Accelerator program here, and we were actually able to fly in guests from Toronto, the UK, and LA, of course. So that was just felt like a big coup to me, but I'm really excited to hear everyone speak. My name is Rob Calder. I'm the co-curator of the VIFF AMP program, and very grateful to have this opportunity to kind of explore this intersection of music and visual media, film, TV, video games, animation, all those fun things, advertising, promotions, etc., and bring a load of attention to our artists here in British Columbia, which there are a bunch of them within the Talent Accelerator program. We're also going to showcase 11 artists over this next couple of days, which is pretty cool to be able to showcase some live music after what we've all been through. This is the first event of this program, and I'm super excited about it, but I'm not the one introducing the actual event. I'm here to introduce a couple wonderful people who've made this happen in sort of different ways. I'd like, first of all, to introduce you to the executive director of the Vancouver International Film Fest, a good friend of mine, Kyle Fostner.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you. Thank you, Rob. I would like to welcome you all to the 5th AMP here at the Vancouver International Film Festival. I know we just watched a delightful opening from Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh, but I really want to reaffirm that VIFF thanks them for that welcoming and understands that we are on their unceded, ancestral, and occupied territory. And with that comes a responsibility, and that responsibility for us manifests in many ways, but primarily through supporting and collaborating with Indigenous artists, filmmakers, and audience members. And we begin that work, and it's new for us in a lot of ways, but we begin that work by using our platform to boost their stories, their films, and to share with the greater world these works of incredible Indigenous excellence. So thank you to them for having us here. I'm feeding back a bit, which feels like a live event, which is kind of fun. More reverb, please. I just wanted to indulge, if I can, just briefly in a little bit of reverie. I helped Rob found AMP, as he said, actually in 2016 when we first brought in live music as part of what we were doing. My background is in music. I was a musician myself for many years and toured and released records, and then I ultimately ran music venues for a long time in Montreal. And it's a passion of mine, and I brought that passion to VIFF when I arrived and wanted to make sure that there were two things that we represented in so doing. So first is what live music brings, which is immediacy, which is performance, which is collaboration, and all those great things that sometimes struggle to find a foothold in a film festival environment. And the second thing was this program. How do we look to pull the arts together? You know, film is such an amalgamation of art forms, whether it's writing, editing, music, acting. But some of those have different weights than others. And for me, with my personal relationship with music, it was critical that we brought that element to the table. I struggled to find ways to manifest my own musical career over my time, and I felt like there was a big bridge there. Rob and I talked about that a lot, and to his credit, he was like, let's do this. Let's do a conference. Let's pull these threads together. And was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. I wish there was something like that in Montreal in the early 2000s for me. So, but what I wanted to just touch on briefly is that, you know, I think over the next 2 days, we'll talk about a lot of the aspects to it, and it can be the industry aspect, the business component, and then also the craft of the work. So a lot of composers in the room today, and music synchronization, music sync artists. But I also want to take a moment to reflect on the art So what began your career as a musician, and what is the impetus behind its inclusion in film? So it's nice to have sound, but at the kernel of it all is the art. So, the business of getting it in film, that's the outcome, and the craft is the methodology, but the art is the purpose. So let's keep that in mind as we go about our work and as we approach how we relate our art to film. And I just want to, I was thinking this morning about what I would say, and I'm winging it a little bit, but I was reflecting on how I feel about film, and I've said this many times, but I feel like film is our ability to subconsciously process our experience. So it is our dreams in a lot of respects. That's how we kind of put a lot of things into it. They take landscape that can be a contextual, they can be ultra narrative, however that works out. But what is music's role in that? And for me, I think that what film can lack at times is a connection to the temporal, a connection to the moment and to the human experience. And for me, and obviously I'm biased as a musician, but for me, music is that human connection. Between the music and the image is the collaboration that we've all felt in our own projects, in our bands, in our writing process, in our recording process. It's not just overdubbing, it's not just performing. Something magical happens in that space. I was just thinking about, I have a young son, and a lot of nostalgia comes with that moment. I videotape his life, I think about it all, I photograph it a lot. But I have this one video where serendipitously I was videoing him. He was a little baby and jumping in one of those little bouncy jumpers. But this, and this is cheesy. Paul Simon's Obvious Child was playing in the background. That's a song about aging. It's a song about your son growing old and having their own children and coming to terms with that aging process. So for me, in a micro way, that reflecting on that is what the power that you yield as musicians in how you approach film is manifested in that. I cannot listen to that song anymore or watch that video anymore without getting deeply emotional. And it's not just the image, but it's also the sound that is permanently linked to me that moment in time forever. And I'm sure we all have songs like that. You can remember when you were 12 and you heard this. I remember the very moment I realized music was fucking cool, and it was playing video games as a teenager, and Bjork's Post came on, and I was like, what is this? And it just turned my whole reality upside down. So it is the sonic connection to memory that we bring to film. We're creating place and time in film, and we help communicate that message with our filmmaking collaborators, the essence of humanity captured within the subconscious expression. So the dreams will stay with us because we have the songs to remember them by. So I just want to say, celebrate that power you yield, use it wisely, and remember the art at the corner of it, because the business is great and the craft is deep and rich and entertaining, but remember the purpose. We're here for humanity and for humanity's expression. So lofty goals, but I felt like it needed to be said as a fellow musician that I really love what you're getting into. I'm inspired by it, and I'm really glad it's part of our festival. I'd like to thank Tom and Tony for their excellent curation, and I'd like to thank obviously all of our partners who came to the table to help this happen, Telus, Creative BC, and Telefilm, but then also Music BC, who have been huge to us this year, and Factor, and the Canada Council for the Arts, and Creative BC again. So there's a lot in there, but it took a lot to pull this off. And as Rob said, last thing I'm going to say, as Rob said, we're here in person, and that's important. We're humans doing this art together. Collaborating has to be in a human way. We have to learn from each other, and we're all tired of Zoom, so I'm really excited to see faces in the room. Thank you for taking that leap with us and for being part of the Talent Accelerator program or just attending online. But we couldn't be more happy to have you be part of our festival. So thank you for being here. And I'd like to introduce a very special guest, Parliamentary Secretary Bob Deeth, whose mandate is within the Ministry of Tourism, Arts, Culture, and Sport, but specifically film and art. So thank you. Welcome, Bob.
Great. Thank you so much. Fantastic. Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing? Live. This is live, right? I mean, amazing. I my first show back was with the Vancouver Symphony with Stephen Page, and I was so emotional being in the Orpheum and watching live musicians, and you forget. Well, you don't forget. You don't realize what you've lost until it's gone. And but before I get into why music is so important to all of our lives and film, I did want to acknowledge that I'm speaking, and we're all on the traditional territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. And I also wanted to acknowledge the wonderful acknowledgements that we got from all three nations. And while I'm on the topic, I think it's really important to reflect on September 30th and the first day of truth and reconciliation that we've had as a nation. And yeah, absolutely. And what I found personally, I was very honored to be invited to the Katzie Nations ceremonies. The importance of music and storytelling in Indigenous culture. And so, it's really important when we take part in these things that we also remember that it's our obligation as witnesses to actually, tell people what we've learned. And the one thing I really learned last week is how important it is to listen, how important it is to listen to the stories. And we can't have reconciliation without the truth first. And part of that truth is telling the stories. And I really feel that arts, culture, film, music has an incredible role to play in truth and reconciliation. I believe that in my core. And I also wanted to say that it's also, bring greetings from Melanie Mark, who's the Minister of Tourism, Arts, Culture, and Sport. And in her mandate letter, she is a fierce fighter for any issue when it comes to diversity, inclusion, reconciliation, you name it. And I got to tell you, it's such an honor to work with her and her team. So I just wanted to mention that before we move forward. I also wanted to thank Kyle Forster and VIFF for putting this on, because there really is that connection between music and film. And just so people know my background, before I was an MLA in 2017. I was actually the executive director of Music BC, so for 14 years, and I really enjoyed that work. I'm also a musician myself and an entertainment lawyer and an author, and I've just enjoyed my entire career in the music industry, but it also was the reason why I became an advocate, and it's part of the reason I ran as an MLA was because of funding for arts and culture and support for arts and culture. And so I'm so happy that we were able to, with our efforts, to renew Amplify BC for 3 years for $22.5 million. And that means a lot, because if you think back, before I got reelected, the Premier Horgan had asked me to work with the music community because we knew the music community was among one of the most hit. And same with the film industry. If you remember, the film industry had to shut down. So yes, the film industry was able to work really hard and come back not only well, but actually stronger. But of course, music has had to wait until vaccinations. So firstly, I wanted to say thank you to everyone for getting vaccinated, because, and please, if your friends or anybody you know who hasn't gotten vaccinated or is reluctant, please remind them, if they want to see you play live again, they're going to need to get vaccinated. And we need that, because that is the reason why we're in the room now, is because people are getting vaccinated. And I know there's some reluctance, but part of our job, I think, together is to work together to try to get people to do what we all need to do. And so I just encourage you to do that. I also wanted to mention that part of my role as parliamentary secretary has been to work with the industry. And so I was actually consulting for nearly 18 months straight with all the creative sectors to see what the creative sectors needed. And so I was really pleased when we were able to pretty well right out of the gate with COVID launch the streaming program that we had with the Showcase BC program that put money in the pockets of artists as quickly as we could. Of course, Amplify BC was renewed, and we've been able to have pivot programs to allow funding to go to organizations like VIFF or other organizations. So it's really important to know that we're listening and trying to respond to what you need. And also there was $35 million from BC Arts Council for recovery and relief for organizations. So we could keep the theaters open, so we could keep the venues going, because we know as musicians, you need somewhere to go back to play. And if we don't have those venues, then the recovery isn't going to happen. And so we've tried our very best to sustain artists, to sustain the industry, so that we have a vibrant industry to return to. So I wanted to thank everyone who participated in that. And I got to say that you know from me, from my heart, that I'm committed and to the recovery of the music industry. And part of what I think everyone learned during COVID is how important it is to diversify as an artist. And so part of the revenue streams that you can have, or the things you can do as a musician, is music for film and television. Of course, synchronization is a really important part of that, not just for the exposure you might get, but also as a revenue stream, not only on the front end, but of course on the back end with SOCAN. So there's some real opportunities to make revenue from that. And so for film composers, if you can get a film or a television show to score, again, it's a really good living. And I know many film composers myself who've made a very good career. It's very difficult to get into, but man, it's really, really interesting. And even as an independent artist, I know artists like Dan Mangan, for example, who's an amazing artist in his own right, has also been doing film composing as well. Or Ryan Gilgamont from Mother does jingles, for commercials. So there's a lot of things that you can do to diversify. So I did want to welcome everyone, of course, from the Talent Accelerator who's in the room. Thank you, so much for participating in this. I think it's really important. And I wanted to thank Rob and, of course, Lindsay McPherson from Music BC, and of course Creative BC, Prem, and everyone at Music BC, at Creative BC, and also Factor as well for partnering, and Canada Council, and the sponsors, Telus and 604 and others. So with that, I'll pass it over to my friend Tony. Where's Tony? Oh, there he is. Tony from Sony in Los Angeles, VP of what is the title?
Senior Vice President.
Senior Vice President of television music at Sony. So I will pass it over to you, Tony. And this is a great example of someone being able to come up from Los Angeles to be here now with us in person. So, this is the way that you can get your music into film and television, is the actual relationships that you can start with people. And this is a wonderful place to start, because Tony, I met many years ago, and I got to tell you, he's always been a champion for us to get Canadian music into international shows. So thank you so much, Tony and Rob and everyone, and wish you all the best, everyone.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to keep it really short because you don't want to hear from me. If you do, you can hear from me tomorrow, either at the Art of Music Supervision or during Sound Off. We'll talk then. But the most important thing is, first of all, to see all your lovely faces, including the Talent Accelerator people. So I want to say thank you for all being here. I'm really excited about this panel. First of all, our moderator, Jane Aurora, who is an amazing engineer, conversationalist as far as talking about the art of music and being able to do a real great deep dive both on the creative and also on the technical aspect. So I want to first of all welcome the wonderful Jane Aurora.
Thanks, Tony.
And her guest is someone who, it's funny because Jane, when we were talking, Rob and I were talking about doing the opening keynote, we asked you sort of what was your dream candidate to have here. And we were lucky enough to have this amazing woman. She has written songs that have landed her into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. She has worked with everyone from Pink to Christina Aguilera to Dolly Parton, and has written some amazing iconic songs in our lifetime, and she will continue to do so. She has an amazing career as a songwriter, as a composer for film, and for her work in television as well. I want to welcome the incredible Linda Perry.
Hey, Linda.
Hello, what a wonderful introduction. Thank you very much.
It's great to see you down there. Are you in your studio down in LA?
What do you think? Yes, in my studio. Oh, this is my closet.
I thought so.
Yeah, so I have, this is my control room, and then over there I have a live room, and in front of me is my kind of vocal booth, hang out and write, and there's another studio, but yes, this is my place.
Excellent. And that's where you make most of the records you work on? You work in your own space?
Oh yeah, always. Hi everybody, first of all. I used to have a studio in North Hollywood, and then my wife and we had a child, and I panicked, and I was like, I need to downsize, simplify, and so I took an old house of mine that I wasn't living in and turned it into my studio, and the first project I did here was Dolly Parton, and it was so awesome to right where I'm looking right now, there's Dolly singing and just full on Dolly Parton mode, and so it was really great. I thought that gave the studio a big boost when I had such an incredible frequency like Dolly Parton sitting in here.
Yeah, what an incredible place to start. I see that apart from doing things with Dolly, you've been working with, I should say it in my Australian accent, what is it, Surfboard is one of the recent artists you've been working with?
Yeah, so, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I just want everybody to understand that very clearly, that I'm just an artist that I have ideas. I dream. I have a lot of energy. I'm an Aries. I'm very proactive, and I'm just not the type that just sits around and waits for things to happen. So, when I see great talent, it's extremely difficult in these times to take a band from from the beginning and break them. A long time ago we could do that. I was one of those bands. I was in a band that we never left San Francisco, and we got signed just by people coming to see our shows. But nowadays, to break a new artist is like, you got to jump through a lot of hoops. There's so many things you got to do, because especially if you're not looking for artists that, have numbers, and, you're watching the numbers game that don't even, that doesn't even make sense. That's a whole other conversation. But so anyways, Surfboard is an awesome punk band that is so like alive. And I started consulting for SoundCloud. And SoundCloud is turning into, offering label services to their community. And so they brought me in to consult and to A&R, and it's been an incredible partnership. But one of my first acts that I brought in was this punk band called Surfboard, and they're amazing. And I manage them too, which I don't know what I'm doing, but, I guess I'm doing something right.
Excellent. And do you find that you're recording albums with artists as often, or people are wanting to come in and do singles, or because you like to look at the longevity of someone's career and develop them, that you prefer to do an album project when you work with someone?
Honestly, all I want to do is create. I just want to do something good. And if it's, an EP album or just a couple good songs, that's all. That's my intention, is to create, and to create without intentional, like following the game plan or chasing. I'm not a chaser. I don't chase ambulances. I just, sit in my creative, and I try to get everybody to play along with me. And basically, playing along with me means there is no plan, there is no agenda. All we're going to do is sit here together, in this situation, and we're going to create, from our heart or whatever inspires us. So I love albums. but not everybody wants to do an album with one person because everybody's chasing the people who are making all the hits everywhere else. And so it becomes a little frustrating for me, but it's okay because I don't play the game. I just look for my own way.
And you've been doing that more so with film lately. Kid 90 is the most recent thing you've been working on. Would you like to tell us a little about that? You finding that different to working on albums, working in film, like the process?
Yeah, so it seems like all my career, when I write, it's from a very visual place. Like I don't have words, I don't have anything. I just have kind of a feeling that, sits inside, and then I kind of start seeing visions, and then I start creating based on that visual. So it made sense when after I left Four Non Blondes to explore the possibilities of what more can this vision create. And I didn't understand the relationship between me and composing yet. It seemed like it wasn't my world. And then I just got more and more invested in like, I feel like I could probably do really good at this. And then all of a sudden, before pandemic, I was reached out by Sean Penn's team, Core Response, and they had this guy, Don Hardy, filmed a documentary about Sean going to Haiti during the earthquake. And it's really intense. And you get this feeling you get an understanding of who Sean Penn is. And so they asked me to score, and I was like, "Holy shit," like I just put it out in the out in the world. And that's how beautiful how beautiful energy is, because if you're inspired and you want something, you kind of have to just put it out there and see what comes back. A lot of people think that's just crazy, but it's the truth. That's for me, it might not be true for everyone, but it's true for me. And so this movie came to me, and here's the crazy part. So they asked me to score this film. I'm like, yes, like, have you done film before? And I'm like, well, no, not per se. I mean, I did do the Dumplin' soundtrack. That was, I recorded all those Dolly songs, but it's not scoring, but it was close enough. And so he wanted a very, kind of like a specific style for this because it's, Haitian, and wanted some Haitian music. So but wanted, an alternative interpretation. And so I kind of did this. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to lay this stuff down. I'm doing the demos of the score. I'm chanting, I'm playing bongos, I'm doing all this stuff. And then pandemic fucking hits, and it's like the world is shut down, and he needs the score done. And I'm like, dude, but it's just me chanting and playing bongos. And he's like, I love it. And so it's me making up all this stuff, but it actually worked because it's like my emotional perception of what, Haitian music would be. And it turned out really cool. It's weird. It's a weird score. But anyways, then I got Kid 90, and that was awesome because if you guys haven't seen Kin 90, I recommend it because it's very interesting for the way documentaries and films are put together. We're talking about a girl when she was 15, 16 years old. That's Soleil Moon Frye, also known as Punky Brewster, back in the 70s, had a very big a TV show. And she left the show, but she started filming everything on a camcorder. Leonardo DiCaprio is in there. A whole young Hollywood is in this film. All the kids from the movie Kids, 90210, Robin Thicke, Stephen Dorff, Andrew Dorff. I mean, everybody is in this film, and it's all the young Hollywood hipster kids that are like before they make it big. And Soleil is filming them. I mean, there's like acid trips. There's a lot of growing. There's 5 suicides. And she's documenting it all, and it's so moving because it's so raw. So I just scored it with this emotional I don't know. Sometimes I sound like a dude. It sounds more like a soundtrack because I wrote a bunch of songs for it because she wanted more songs that could push the narration. So I just started writing a bunch of songs, and yeah, I sound like, guy down here, and then sound like hippie, chick, and country and humming. I sound like a choir, and it's really, really, really good. I'm super proud of it. But anyway, sorry for the long answer, but yes, I did Kid 90.
Oh, that was it. It was a great answer. And I believe there's 41 pieces of music on the soundtrack for that. So lots of little bits. There's parts of, yourself in there as well as you taking on other characters. I guess that was a little bit different to doing Dumplin' with Dolly because you were responding to raw footage and building this sort of emotional movement of the film. Whereas with Dumplin', how did you work with that? Did you compose to any of the script, or what was the sort of guidance process for having a relationship to the film?
Well, Dumplin' was interesting because Buck Damon, he's an awesome music supervisor, called me up out of nowhere, and I think I had done something for that movie Burlesque, and I did I reimagined an old Mae West song for Christina, and anyway, so he remembered and he called me up. He said, "Hey, I got there's something interesting about you. I kind of am thinking about you doing this music for this Dolly Parton." I said, "I'll do it." And he's like, "But I didn't." I go, "I don't care. I'll do it. You say Dolly Parton, I don't fucking care what it is. I'm there." And so he's like, "Well, I don't know if it's going to be you. There's something about you, but since you're so inexperienced, it might not work out. But there's one other guy. Don't even talk to that guy." Well, don't talk to that guy. I'm your person. And he started laughing and he's like, "I'm going to go talk to this guy and I'll come back to you." So literally 2 weeks later, he comes back and he's like, "Okay, so what we need is everybody's in. They just want we need to reimagine some of Dolly's songs. And then if we can get one original from Dolly, that would be great. And you'll be responsible for that." And I just, call me over ambitious, but I said, "Fuck that. We're going to do Dolly Parton's next album." And he's all like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, so we'll reimagine 5 songs, and then her and I are going to write 6 originals, and then we're going to make an album." And he's like, "I don't even think Dolly has signed off on one song." I'm like, "Don't worry, I'll get it all done." Right. And so I start just doing everything. I get Sia, I get Mavis Staples, I get all these people doing the reimagined songs like Here I Am, Jolene, all that stuff. And then so I'm with Dolly and she hears all the songs, and I recorded it here and I just did it really live, really like feel good. And she's like, "Oh my God, I was sitting in my chair and I was spinning. Oh my God, I must have spun around that 100 times. I couldn't believe you made me feel like in love with my songs again." Now listen, they told me that Linda Perry was going to be producing these, but and I was ready to accept it. And I thought you're going to do like that pop thing like you do for Christina Aguilera. But oh my God, what you've done, girl. Oh my God, I love it. And I'm just sitting there going, Dolly Parton. So then she's like doing vocals on one of the songs, and she's like, "So, I've never written with a woman before." And I'm like, "You haven't?" She's like, "What are you thinking we're going to do? You want to, I don't know if I have a song in me. I haven't written a new song in quite a long time." And I'm like, "Well, we need about 6 songs to complete this album." And she's like looking at me. She like thought I was crazy. And she's like, "Well, excuse me." She's like, "I don't even know if you're going to get one." And I'm like, we're going to be fine." So we wrote 6 songs in 2 days. She took 1 day to write all the lyrics, but we wrote the songs. And then we're having tea and she's like, "You're weird. You're a weird girl." And I'm all, and you don't know how to take that from Dolly Parton. She's like, "Now I love weird, but you're weird." And I'm like, "Why am I so weird?" She's like, you're just so creative. Like you just are so fast. I've never met anybody kind of like me." And so anyways, we ended up really working well together. So then what I did after that is I took some of the like Here I Am, Jolene, Dumb Blonde, and I turned them into scores. Because it was like, okay, why don't I take these beautiful little pieces? And I did some string arrangements for it besides the soundtrack part. So I just did some strings I did a little guitar, I did a little this, and we just started weaving it through the soundtrack, through the movie. And then there's the guy who did the composing, but majority of the score is from the songs that I recorded for Dolly.
It's such an exceptional film, and what an incredible experience. Do you think you'll do any work with her in the future? I heard a rumor you've become great friends.
Oh yes, we're very great friends. I love her. You know, she's a great person. Anybody who loves Dolly, I'm happy to report that, you know how sometimes you can just meet somebody and they're such a dick and you just don't want to, you know, you're bummed out like, oh man, I didn't want them to be like that. But Dolly is like the greatest human. Like like I said earlier, her frequency is just operating at a whole other level. She's very humble. She's very giving. She just wants to lift people up. Just a great person. I feel so grateful that I was able to, you know, meet this incredible alien and make music with her.
And is there anything that you learned from Dolly that you'll take on your path forward as a producer, composer?
You know, a lot of things. It's not just as a producer, you know, she's interesting because it's like, um, I don't know. I think I got more patience because I saw how patient she is with people. And so I felt like after, you know, hanging with her for a few months that I actually became nicer. And I'm a pretty nice person, and I feel like I got even nicer because I started understanding a little bit more. And you know, and I kind of already knew this, but it was nice to be like having a refresher course on it, that you know, to be a great leader you have to lead, you know, with greatness. And in order to lead with greatness, you have to make everybody feel like they're great at their job so they can move forward and go, okay, you know, you just want people excited. So I try to make everybody feel excited about working on a certain project, or that I'm super appreciative of their hard work and their talents. And also I have to learn how to step back and let go of control. Because I'm an Aries, I'm extremely controlling. So I'm also learning to be a great leader. You have to let go of control and you have to listen, you know? So yeah, I mean, I have a lot of things that I learned from her. And again, just grateful for that experience.
That's great. So she was very present and witnessing what was going on with the session musicians. I know when you say patience was the virtue that you picked up from her, I imagine she was very quick with her own vocal takes, say something like that.
Let me just tell you this. I've never seen anything quite like it. Like, I can't even get one of these fucking younger kids to get in here and do a vocal in a day. You know, I can't even get a full fucking vocal from these people. And Dolly Parton at 70 something years old came in here and sang 6 songs
What? Six?
perfectly in one day. One day she came here and sang all 6 songs, and not just half-assed, like full on in attire,
I
in the
bet.
heels, in all of it, and just nailed it. And what a I mean, she is a hard worker. So, you know, she was very present with everything. And then we were in Nashville at John McBride's Blackbird studio doing strings, and it was getting late, and you know, she wanted to be, you know, around. And she's like, well, how long you think you're going? And I'm like, well, how long do you going? She's like, well, how long are you going? And I'm like, I want to know, how long are you going? She's like, well, I'm going as long as you're going. And I go, well, then I guess we're going to be here all night, you know? And so there was a competitive thing with her, like who could last the longest. And you know, so yeah, she's amazing. Very present in the moment.
That sounds incredible. What a team. I look forward to future works if they come along. It'll be great to see that. I read some stuff that you said in The Sun, which included that, we didn't have any idea what we were going to talk about today, which is perfect for me because I also like to just have a good chat. But I did notice that you were talking about music supervisors as being the new A&R of the industry. I totally agree with that, as everything sort of goes to streaming and things are going in a crazy place industry-wise. They are the tastemakers at this point. Nora Felder, Stranger Things, these important, potent soundtracks. Yeah, can you tell me a bit more how you feel about that and the importance of music supervisors in the current music industry climate?
Well, what is great about music supervisors is they're doing the job that old disc jockeys used to do long time ago. Their job was to get on the radio and create, you know, their basically their soundtrack of their show, what represented them, their feelings, also by playing things that are popular, but also throwing things in that just felt good to them to listen to, things that they were a fan of, even if, it wasn't a hit. I mean, album tracks were played a long time ago. It wasn't always just hits. There was album tracks that support those hits because that's the thing a lot of people forget about. It's like the reason albums were so good is because all the songs were good. They collaborated well with each other. And then yes, there was the hit. And you look at the hit as the lead actress or the lead actor, and the reason why they're so great in the film is because they have a great cast underneath them, right? That's supporting them. Otherwise, without a great supporting, cast or production, director, all of that, the actress won't get the nomination. So to me, that's what songs are on an album. And so, I think now, like when I listen to a lot of uh, shows or movies, I can hear how fun it possibly could have been. I know, trust me, I know before everybody's like, I understand the other part of it, getting the clearances and all that, but it must be fun to like see a scene or get this body of work and you're now supposed to create this soundtrack, so to say. And hearing that a lot of songs that are chosen aren't big songs. They aren't hit artists. They're just great songs that fit the scene. To me, that's how artists are breaking right now. It's like if you want to break an artist, the last place you go to is the music business. It's like literally the last place you go right now.
Is there any music supervisors you'd like to work alongside in a future film?
I mean, I have a handful. Like I love Sue Jacobs and I love Season and Jen Malone, Buck. I love I'm still new, so please understand I'm still like young in this area of the movie composing and scoring. Um, but you know, like for instance, like when I heard the Joker score and just the music that weaved through there, like I was just like, I mean it hit heavy for me. I think that the Cruella soundtrack was awesome, of course. You got these big songs in there, but they were awesome. They were great. Um Even like the first seasons of 13 Reasons and um I was just watching this show that was really great called Sex Education.
Yes.
There's so many even the music in ordinary normal people. Is it Normal People? Oh, what a beautiful series. I mean, to me, it lights me up when I see something so creative because it's the streamers that are being creative right now, that are going outside the box, that are reaching deep and looking for, because they don't give a fuck. They don't need, Ariana fucking Grande and their goddamn series to promote them. They could give a fuck about that. So they're looking for shit that actually works in it. They don't care about who's got numbers. I mean, it's ridiculous, right now. It's embarrassing actually. So that's why I'm so happy to have made this kind of, little jump, but I feel like honestly, I'm really good at this scoring thing, and I have a feeling I'm gonna have like a pretty big career in it because I'm just naturally and organically emotional about everything, as you can see. I can be angry, I can be country, I can be mellow, I can be rock and roll, I can do anything because when you see something good, it helps you. It makes you feel these things. So I don't have to be a country artist to write a country song for a beautiful movie that's taking place in Nashville.
It seems like the risk-taking aspect of film and it being a little more unpredictable and music, the way it works, is appealing to you. And I remember you talking about wanting to get behind the board as a producer and loving George Martin and, wanting to be more than just an artist and a producer. Is this like the next frontier for you as you get to match everything up with a moving image? I mean, you recorded with Bono for something recently, I believe, as well. So I'm not going to say you're exactly starting out at the film stuff, just saying.
That was for the Sean Penn film, Citizen Penn. I have to tell you this story because it's awesome. And uh, so I end up scoring the film, and then they're like, "Well, can you write a end title?" And I'm like, "See, that's the great thing about me. Just so you know, I can score and I can write a song, so I can go in there and do it all." So I'm like, "Of course!" And so I write this song. They loved it, and they're like, "Who are you thinking?" And I'm like, "Bono." And they're like, "Do you have a a plan B?" I'm all, "No, I just hear Bono on this." And they're like, "But Bono is Bono." And I'm like, "I know. Wouldn't it be great if we get Bono?" And then they just start laughing at me. And so I cold call um his management company. "Hey, it's Linda Perry." And and I have a name, and so people do take my phone call, which is pretty cool. And so I'm like, "So I wrote this song for this Sean Penn film, and Bono should sing it. It's perfectly, fitting for him, and it would be really great because it's about how Sean went to Haiti, and this is a wonderful cause. So look at it as a beautiful cause and not a Hollywood film because it's not." And he started laughing. He's like, "You think it's that easy?" And I'm all, "Yeah, like, I wrote a song and I want Bono to sing it." And he started laughing at me, and I'm like, "What's, what's the big deal?" So he's like, "You know what? Because you're so ballsy, send me the song. If I think it's good, I'll send it along to him." And I'm like, "Okay, fair enough." And so I send him the song. He emails me back. He's like, "Actually, this song is really great." And I'm like, "Hello." And
Yeah.
then he's like, "I don't know how this is going to work, but I'll let you know." And so a couple of weeks go by. I'm leaving here, going home, and I get an email, and it's from his management, and I'm like going, "All right, they're writing to pass," but I can't read it properly because there's an attachment, and so I'm trying to focus and read, but I see this attachment, and so I'm like, fuck the reading part, and push on the attachment. It's fucking Bono singing the
Yes.
friggin' song in his iPhone, drunk with his kids. And I'm like, and then he's saying, "Hey, Linda, I'm rambling on. This is a great song," in his Irish accent, and I'm like going, and I drive to my best friend's house. And I pull a Say Anything, and I'm like, pull up and jamming the demo out the window of my car. And then I'm like, "Bud, Hong Kong," it's like 12:30. And he's all, "What?" And I'm like, "Fucking Bono is singing my goddamn song I wrote." Anyways, it was like the greatest moment. And then he ended up being here. And of course, I was cool as a cucumber. And then he was like telling me, he's like, "I think you're an incredible, writer, and I'm here to do whatever you need me to do. I heard you're a ball buster and you're going to put me in my place." I'm like, "Okay." And I'm trying to keep it cool. I'm like, "I'm going to totally be really, keep it together, Linda." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am, but I think we're going to have a really good time." So anyways, did the song. I mean, it was pretty amazing. I mean, I've been around a long time, but nothing ever is too cool for me. I'm just like, it's like I'm a kid always when it comes to meeting iconic, people, and people who have made such influential decisions musically and creatively in this lifetime. I mean, and to the incredible people who do so much incredible work in organizations. So, anyways, I wanted to tell you guys that story because the point is nothing is impossible, and usually when people laugh at you, that means you're onto something. So don't let those people laughing discourage you from going after what you know is right.
Amazing. Well, it's that risk taking and that confidence that means you're going to make so much great future work. I can't wait to see who you invite next into things. And that merging of songwriting with more composition based stuff, like hearing what you did on Kid 90 and how ambient and beautiful it is, yet the fact that you can mix that with some of the greatest hits in the world, not to mention your own greatest hit, What's Up, which is an anthem of multiple generations now. So many people have been relating to that song during the pandemic. And I was wondering if you have any favorite versions or versions you've been the most moved by that other people have covered, or moments that your own song has appeared in a film that have made you really see that as something that came through you but maybe is outside of you and its power. It's such an incredible piece, that track.
Well, I was able to do this really pretty dark version of What's Up with Blumhouse and Amazon when they did their 4-part trilogy, and they used it for their trailer. And there's this girl Fiora that I've met, and she does a lot of trailer compositions, and so I called her up. I'm like, hey, let's team up and do this, and she nailed it. Like, really, she did all the work. I just may have had an idea or two, but she did it. She killed it, and I think she actually won an award for it. And it was really fun doing that because especially when it's your project, you have to somehow detach because don't we start coveting these things that we love that have been so good to us, and we covet, that's what we do. And it's really nice to kind of go through those experiences of being open to the exploration of past creations and letting them take on new life. And I really enjoy that when people like just recently I don't approve What's Up in my songs for a lot of things. I'm very actually snobbish about it. But I do it for things that make sense for me emotionally, and if I see the intention behind the project is that follows along, the guidelines of how I want to live. And but I'm a big Resident Evil fan, and so recently they did a like kind of remix for the trailer of that on What's Up, and they did a I have to say they left my original voice in, which I didn't know they were gonna do that, and they did an amazing job.
Super cool. I know that I'm in a room right now with a bunch of people with masks. It's an interesting time, first time being in a room like this since COVID started. And there's lots of super talented up and coming composers, producers in the room. And I was wondering, just on a little gear trajectory for a minute. I know when you wrote Get This Party Started, it was with a singular drum machine back in the day. Rumor has it. Are there any particular toys or pieces of gear or interesting things that have come out that have inspired your creative process in recent times? Has that changed at all with film?
Um, n- I'm a gearhead. Like, if you guys were here, you'd be so in love with my studio because I have so many wonderful I have a lot of history in my studio, and I say that not because I think vintage gear is better. It's just that, when I pick up, this old 55 Martin, it just sounds different than the other guitars. It sounds different than my newer Martin because there's a warmth in it. There's a feeling, there's a soul that was playing this guitar a long time ago. So it's like jeans, or leather. They're better when they've been worn in. they look better, they feel better, and you know, they're just better. So I have a lot of old gear, and depending on the project. So like recently I did this film called To Leslie, and it's not out yet. Beautiful, beautiful film. I just want to say that. So I can't even believe I got the film. But the acting is so incredibly good in it, and I felt like an intruder in there. And I think everybody can relate to this of what I'm going to say. Don't you find that sometimes people just score something just to score something, and it's like in a middle of like a really moment that could have been, the rain would have been a better score than the shit that they just put in there. It's just like, why did you do that? Like, why don't you just let the rain fall? That's more emotional than, a pad or strings or to follow. So I was just like, I felt like, oh God, I'm like intruding in this incredible film that doesn't need me to just interrupt it. So I was like playing acoustic, like, okay, it's still too loud, grabbed some pedal steel and try to, fuck that up. And oh God, it's annoying. It's like, I'm just annoying. I'm annoying in this fucking film. And then I started watching her, and then I shut off the dialogue and I just watched her, the main character, because it's really about this main character. And I just saw like how she was, moving, how her eyes looked without dialogue. I'm just listening, I'm just watching now. And she just looked so like, you know, broken. And so I was like, so I went and got a pump organ and out of tune like her, broken like her, moody, dark like her. But there was something hopeful about her. So I took this dark, dark tone, sound, broken, out of tune, and played happy chords. And was like, it was like, I don't know what happened, but it just was like, holy fuck. And it just became her sound, this broken, out of tune pump organ. And there's probably like 6 cues in it, really minimal. And when it shows up, it's like her theme. And then I did the same thing with the B3, and I'm like, okay, I got it. So I, make the B3, how you can do your drawbars and make interesting sounds. And so I started fucking around with that. And then I would make those kind of sounds, just, just sounds, not even songs. And then I turn on the sound and then her dialogue, and it just sat perfectly. So you have to understand, I'm just, a person that ad libs the whole time, and I have no idea what I'm saying. And it takes me a long time at times, but the pump organ was my latest thing that I picked up that I was like, okay. But again, it's very boutique. You can't whip that baby out for everything. But on this particular situation, it really saved me and gave me a voice in this film.
Amazing. It's sometimes limitations are good, I find, when you just have a couple of small tools and then being able to use that thematically to convey emotion is just such a beautiful idea.
Well, then what was really cool is there were some songs in there they couldn't afford because it's an indie film. So there's a Loretta Lynn song in there, and they're like, we can't afford this. Can you write something? I'm like, yeah. So I write this like song. And then once he heard that, he's like, can you write another? I need something for here, here, and here. So not only was I scoring, but now I'm replacing source music. And then I wrote the end title, and then Patty Griffin is singing the end title. So it's like, yeah, I'm really excited about this film. I think this film, people are going to get a different sense of who Linda Perry is, and that, yeah, I'm probably going to do some really cool stuff in this next chapter of my life.
Well, you sound so suited to it, and it means you're not trying to crank out the hits for A&R. You can kind of work in any genre, any era, and with the many decades of experience you have, it must be great to be able to draw on writing historical and retro sounding pieces as well. And how cool. Yeah.
I mean, I think that, I wish I was in the room because I love to interact with the audience because I think it's so important to not just be, you know, up on stage and watching, or sitting down watching two people speak. I always feel like, well, that's not fun. If I was in the audience, I would want to interact. So just know that if I were there, I'd be running around in that crowd, asking people questions and making people, play a song or something. I'd probably have a guitar sitting right next to you, and I'd make you sing at some point, because I believe everybody, has the ability to create. And if you have people that believe in you, amazing things can happen.
That's very true. And you have We Are Here, your artist empowerment business that's doing that. Is that still operating?
We Are Here is not happening anymore. We collapsed during the pandemic. We were a small company that relied on touring, and so there was no touring. So therefore, we had to fold the company. But it was actually a really good thing that that happened. I took my artist that I had and I went my merry way. And I still manage artists right now. And like I said earlier, I A&R for SoundCloud, and that partnership's been really great. And I have my hands in a lot of things, and I'm a great mom. My son
Yeah.
is extremely important to me. He comes to the studio with me all the time. He's like my ball of inspiration and reminder that I got to keep it, keep it chill, keep it fun. It's like, it's not that if it's not fun for me, I just can't get invested.
Playful is so important. I think you can interact with this audience in a way. We are going to take some questions, but before we do, just wanted to let you know, if you want to interact with Linda in some way, she's got a couple of free sample packs up on her Linda Perry Studio website, so you can actually jam with some of the sounds from the studio. Are they recorded in that studio? Any of those sounds that are up
Yeah,
there?
no, I have to do more of that. Life got busy and I couldn't do more, but yeah, I got some stuff that I've been doing, and but mainly, like, I don't, you can go to my Instagram and, send me messages. I am always trying to be as available as I possibly can for new artists, because I don't believe enough people are taking the time to give the right and honest information that needs to be heard. Earlier today, like, things like this happen to me all the time, but earlier today, a manager came with his band and asked me what I thought of their new album, and I'm like, I totally was set up, because I think I knew what he wanted to hear. But so it's kind of flattering and exciting to be able to have have these really amazing opportunities to weave in and out of other people's careers, to be somewhat of an inspiration, or some something that I say, something super honest, could help somebody move a different direction. It's too hard. I mean, life is hard. It's extremely hard. Every single day, it's very, very hard. So it's my duty as a human being on this planet to try to be at service, to be of service the best I possibly can. I can't get to everybody, but I can reach out to a few. And if I can touch a few, those, as we all know, those few can touch other people, and we can just keep trying to figure out how to basically save this business on my end, on the music side, because I'm a little nervous about, I don't know about you guys, but like at the top of the pandemic, so many influencers were signed on TikTok. And, cut to 2 years later, a lot of those have been dropped, but when they sign those artists, They're just signing numbers, and numbers that really don't really mean anything because they're not really true, real numbers, as you know. So, anyways, so I'm just trying to help the best that I can.
That's super inspiring. I'm going to take it to the audience now so that you can give some direct feedback. I got a question up the back there. If you say it to me, then I'll say it to Linda. How is it to work with Les Claypool?
Les, so okay, here's a weird. Okay, so Les and I didn't work together on a musical level. He he did a cameo in a movie that I did long time ago that has not seen the light of day because it's a kind of questionable film, but it's called Pink as the Day She Was Born. And so, mind you, I'm sitting in this gay bar watching guy porn, and it was my local bar around, around the block. And so I'm sitting there having a beer, watching this terrible gay porn, and I'm like going, God, why doesn't anybody do anything like good that has good music and it's actually sexy and has a storyline of some sort? And so this is typical Linda Perry. I'm in the middle of either buying a house, in San Francisco that would keep me there, or all of a sudden I'm going to make my own porn, movie. And so I literally don't buy the house that would probably be worth like, $10 million now. And I went and made this like soft porn B movie that was ridiculously funny, so wrong in so many ways.
Where can we see it?
I'm actually trying to figure out if I can just release it, but it's been sitting in my, pocket for a while. But Les, he's a great guy. We know each other from San Francisco, but that's how we worked together. He kind of did a cameo in that film that has not been seen, but one day it'll get out
Acting,
there.
bass playing.
Acting. He played this like kind of slimy booking agent.
Waxed mustache. I can see it now.
Yeah.
Great. Do we have another question here? Yeah, that's you. Okay, that's a question about co-writing. What sort of challenges come up and what lessons you've learned in a co-writing capacity?
In co-writing, what's really interesting, and I think that this is the best way to like really approach it, because a lot of people get scared of songwriting with someone else, because it can be, obviously it's an intimate situation. You want to feel like, you're bringing something to the table. So we almost over prepare, and get into this like, okay, I want to have like, at least some songs ready to go because I want to, I don't want to look like a moron showing up with nothing. And to me, that's like the biggest mistake everybody does, because the co-writing experience is exactly that. It's co-writing with somebody, a stranger. It's co-creating. If you look at it that way, we're co-creating together. And if I'm showing up with already a creative idea and then they're showing up with the creative idea, well then all we're doing is taking the creative ideas that we came up with separately and trying to fit it in, to this new relationship. So I'm sure that works for some people, but for me, it's forbidden to come in this room with any ideas because I feel like I'm cheating. I feel like we're cheating the experience. The experience is for us to sit down and get vulnerable and, you know, pick up the guitar, sit at the piano, and then just kind of improvise what emotionally is, internally, harboring inside our system, right? And then it starts kind of bubbling its way out. So there's that right there. And then also people feel like, oh, I don't need I don't need to write with somebody. I'm incredible. I don't need that. But maybe think about the experience, the lesson. You might learn a new chord you didn't know before. maybe you may meet a new ally that could help with other things, a new perspective of songwriting. And maybe you guys don't collaborate or do anything together, but maybe just the conversation was inspirational. Um, that's two. The other third thing, the song may not be for you. So have fun. Go in there and just have fun and don't cock block the experience. So if someone all of a sudden starts going into some kind of R&B polka song, let it happen. Let the song just happen, because the song may not now be for you. It may be for, some big artist that does, R&B polka, and you just never know. So I think that it's always go in with an open mind and less expectations, and more just go in and have fun and see what happens.
Great advice. We got another question over here. Do you find yourself gravitating towards the piano or the guitar more when you're creating?
I don't know. Like sometimes it really depends. I piano, if I'm mellow, yeah, because it's so pretty, isn't it? It's just, this hand is, my choir, because that shows I get up all the melodies over here, and this hand is just my band. And it's, you know, I think when you're playing piano, a lot can happen in my head. I can start hearing a lot of different things, but sometimes it can be distracting, because I'll just all of a sudden be playing piano and just getting lost and dicking around. And then guitar, I have to tune it. Funny, I got to do a lot of stuff with guitar, because not that I'm bored, I just want to do different things. And so sometimes I might just tune the guitar all wacky, right? Find the song and then tune it normal and then go back, and go, oh, okay. So I might just fuck things up just to come back and be normal. But I really, it really depends on my mood. Um, and if I want to be loud, like guitar, I do get a little louder with my voice. Yeah, and then piano, I tend to like, you know, just lay more low, and I like singing very, very low a lot of the time, and I love doing that with the piano. But a guitar, I'll get a little more rock happening.
Any more questions in the room? Up the back there. Do you start with words or music first, and what do you do when you get stuck?
Um, can you ask everybody? Oh, well, they can hear me.
They can hear you.
We're gonna pick 3 people. I don't give me like crazy chords. Just give me normal chords. So pick. So people come up with 3 chords for me. So pick
What do we
somebody.
got? Yeah, a chord. D minor 7. All right.
That's don't give me the crazy. I'll do D minor, but I don't want to go into like those jazzy blues chords and stuff.
D minor.
So, okay, I got
Anybody?
a D minor.
Anyone
What
else?
else?
Call a chord for Linda.
More.
Over here. Yep. F
Okay.
and A minor.
Okay, so this is me. Can you hear me? Everywhere, every day, someone's coming for me now. And I'm gonna dive right down into the shallows, where we are, where we stand, I can't remember how. Don't you ever take me back down, 'cause I'm lying around to say everybody does a way I can do your never day.
Yeah.
So that's just me, so it all comes at the same time. And I don't know how to write a lyric without a melody, and I don't know how to write a melody without a chord. So I need it all at the same time. And not that this is brilliant that I can do, because it's also a curse for me, because it's so easy for me that sometimes I underappreciate that skill. So I have to remind myself, I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs that are sitting in that stage where I just rely. I've done a show making it up, a whole show, making up chords the whole way through, making up the song. It's super fun. But it takes a lot, because you have to be open. You have to be open to the possibilities that I'm going to say some stupid stuff right now. The melody I come up with may not be great, but it doesn't stop me from trying. It doesn't stop me from feeling, and it doesn't stop me from exploring the possibilities of this powerful thing that we're all given, and that is to create and write a song. So I just let it show up, and sometimes it feels like it was there already. And I just feel, again, so blessed to have this wonderful gift that was given to me at such an early age, and that I'm able to exploit it, and give back and do things and make a difference with it.
Wow. We have some questions from the online audience now who I can't see either, but let's see what mysteries come from the pipeline.
Yes, there's a lot of love for Linda online.
Much love online for you. Oh, that was it.
Yeah, one question. Do you find that the producers, studios are usually on board when you make less traditional scoring choices? You often have to defend those creative choices.
I have not had that happen quite yet. I'm sure it's going to. So I've only did a handful of things. So the dumpling thing, that just worked. So thank God. And then I did score. So because Soleil and I became friends, she asked me to score the Punky Brewster reboot, and that was fun. At first, I didn't want to do it because I didn't, I didn't. That's not what I was thinking of. What I wanted to do with scoring is do a sitcom, but I did it, and it was super fun because it gave me the opportunity to understand that rhythm. Because as you guys know, that's a whole other rhythm. That's like, how do I take beating down, and make it sound cool? Like, but do da ba, so came up with really cool stuff, and they were like, the music editor was like, I've never not had a note, like, you're killing it. So I've been really lucky. I'm certain that, that I'm going to come across some difficult conversations, but here's the thing about scoring. It's not about me. It's about the film. It's about the director's vision. It's about supporting this incredible piece of work that all these incredible people put a lot of work in to make happen. And how dare I to come in and, stamp on, this, like, oh, I'm going to put the Linda Perry on this, I don't work that way. I want to collaborate, and I want people to be happy. And so I really operate with no ego. Believe it or not, that has to stay out of my studio, because I do have an ego, and it can flare out, and it's a lion, and I don't let that girl into my studio because she's a dickhead, so I just keep her out, and I'm just like, as long as she doesn't come into the studio, I'm good.
Great. Has anyone else out there on the internet got a question?
We've got one more. As someone who's about to venture into the world of licensing, is there something other than sending my songs to music supervisors that I could do? This one was from Adriana.
Sorry, you skipped out for a second. Can you repeat that again, please?
As someone who's about to venture into the world of licensing, is there something other than sending my songs to music supervisors that I could do?
Well, I mean, the thing is, you have to remember the music supervisors are coming from visual places. So if you have songs and you can create any kind of you know what I did one time? I took this beautiful Sigaros song, um, and it was a video that it was what's the guy that's always in trouble? That actor, he was in Honey Boy, Shia LaBeouf. He was in this video for the Sigaros song. And I thought the video was so beautiful, and everything they do is just incredible. So I took the sound out and I scored to that. And I did my own song to that visual because I just thought the movement, the dancing, the emotion that was happening in that video was just so inspiring. And I played that to somebody and they gave me a job because of that. So I think that, you know, go the extra mile, because right now there's a lot of competition because everybody knows that the music supervisors are the new kings of the, you know, land, and they have been incredible resource for you know, breaking artists, and they're doing amazing work, and there's a lot of music out there. So it's a matter of like, what can you do? And I don't know, you have to ask a music supervisor, but that's what I did. And I guess it depends on if you're just looking for license. You kind of have to pedal yourself too, because you have to remember that there's a lot of people out there. What can you be doing to just take it an extra mile, putting in phone calls yourself, trying to make these connections? Because it is a hustle. It is, you know, there's a lot of really talented people in the world, and we're all trying to do the same thing, and we're all trying to be heard. So, you know, you do have to work really hard in this business. And I have to say that people that, you know, artists and writers and just anybody that sits around and thinking that, you know, things are just going to come to them and they don't want to put in the effort, you know, I say good luck to that kind of process, because I don't see it happening for you if you can't take the time for your career to give it everything that you have.
So, oh, I'm back. It's great advice. We'll take one last question because we're coming to the end of our interview. Ooh, what have we got? How do you advocate for yourself as an independent, multi-hyphenated artist when you're a composer, a producer, many things? What's the best thing you can do to advocate at a basic level when you're trying to make it out there?
Huh?
I thought that as well. I think that advice for people that are emerging in their field but do many, many things, what's the best way to put themselves out there? That's a good question.
Well, I mean, are you so someone who hasn't broken through? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Um, I mean, it goes. I mean, pretty much, that's been the topic of this whole conversation. It's, you know, it's a matter of, hey, I mean, I'm a confident person, so I can make things happen by just because I believe I can make things happen. Um, and I feel that we have to, you know, carry that power, but we also have to also show that we're um, capable of collaborating and working together. Because, you know, I would say if someone came to me with a massive attitude and said that they were the best and they can do that, I would see potential problems with that person, you know, because they would go, they seem a little too, you know, egotistical and not going to be able to collaborate well. Um, I look for all possibilities, you know, and that's me, Linda. You know, I call people, I look in the trades, I see what's going on. I've even gone to plays that are just like, you know, running plays and seeing if there's anywhere that, okay, maybe I can do some kind of play that will highlight music. Oh, I'll write a musical, you know. Um, isn't it just, we don't know. We don't know. I don't know why I'm, you know, getting the work that I'm getting. I can't really put any specific thing on it because I do so many things. I'm always working. I'm always hustling. Um, and on top of it, I think I'm a good person and I'm putting good energy out and I'm trying to, I have a great reputation. And so I might obviously have a easier run at it, but I still have to work just as hard. So I don't know what to say because with artists, with composers, with directors, editors, we're all trying to be creative, and some of us want different things. So I think first of all, you have to identify what exactly do you want, because that's a really big part that a lot of people don't focus on. Like, I could say, you could tell me, like, for instance, I could go, okay, well, all right, great. Well, I have this and I have this lined up for it. And you could say to me, well, I was just hoping maybe to get like, one episode on something. I don't really have that kind of time. And that seems successful to me. And that's about as far as I want to go. So, you really have to identify what success or what your life looks like, what your career looks like, because I think that's a big part of how we manifest, the wonderful gifts that come to us. And again, I'm not a hippie guru person, just so you know. I just believe in the power of the universe. And when we ask for something, things come, and we have to be ready. That's why that saying exists, you know, make sure you're ready for what you ask for, because when things start coming, it starts coming. So, um, I'm so sorry. I don't feel like I'm giving you the greatest answer, except for the fact is, you know what you're capable of doing. You know what you want. So you have to design a plan that is specifically catered and boutique to you.
Such great advice. There's loud applause going on right now in the theatre, in case you can't hear it. I'd like to say thank you for an incredibly inspirational conversation. It's been just wonderful chatting with you today to open VIFF AMP for this Producers Lounge session. And all the best with your future creative endeavors. I can't wait to see what comes out of that studio next. Thank you so much, Linda.
Thank you very much for talking to me. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And I hope everybody gets what they're looking for. And thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Wow. You can relax now a little bit. Everyone, give a hand for Jane Aurora, please.
Thanks, Rob.
And just a couple words. I think it's the third year that we've kind of worked closely on some things together, and I thank you from my heart for making this happen. And Tony didn't really tell it. We actually completely joked with Jane. We were like, we messed with her about this whole thing. We were like, we just couldn't get anyone. We couldn't get anyone. She's like, or what did we say? We were like, who do you really want? Oh, Linda Perry. No, she's not available. And then we were like, no, we actually got Linda Perry. It's all good. We got her.
It's true. It was a good request. I'm like, who am I going to come up with
I was
next?
like, you need to pick someone else. That's what you said. Anyway, it's really great. But thank you so much. And I look forward to doing some more stuff with you next year as well. So great. What did you think of that? I'll be remiss. It's so great, Bob, for you to come and say some words, especially about everything that the province is doing and Creative BC is doing. I think everyone can attest in this room. We really appreciate you as someone in music that's in the government doing good work for us. And Bob's no hack. Like, he's got a studio. He's like written crazy. He's like won awards. Like, he's the real deal. So like when you see all those suits over in Parliament there, Bob's not one of them. Okay, all right. That's the best non-governmental chat I could do with you right there in this time. Also, and you'll kind of see how this works throughout the weekend if everyone's going to be around. But Tony, instrumental in getting Linda to participate here. And I can't say enough. Like when you were like, what about Linda Perry? And I was like, Linda Perry. No, we can't. And he's like, yeah, what about Linda Perry? So thank you. Like, your connections and everything in Los Angeles and making all this happen. Like, so awesome. Thank you. Okay, so that wraps up our first VIFF AMP 2021 event here, and I'm going to steal some of the speakers, and we're going to go meet some of our industry people here in town. Tomorrow, all the Talent Accelerator program, get up and early. We'll have some coffee. You're going to do some breakout sessions. Our public-facing sessions include Stages to Screens, which is going to be awesome. Tarun Nair from Delhi to Dublin and Snakes and Ladders is going to be hosting it. Local boy also curates the 5X Festival, which is the best of the South Asian music here in Vancouver. It's got Isa Summers, original member of Florence and the Machine, DC Charles, one of the hottest songwriters and composers in LA, who's worked on a million projects like Boondocks, and Dan the Automator from Gorillaz is going to be here in person, so that's going to be super awesome. I'd just like to also say that panel, we're going to have 2 people online and 1 in person, but every single other one of our panels is in person, so that's actually going to be super awesome. So unfortunately, Linda couldn't make it up for this specific thing, but she just invited herself. Did you see that? Like, she's coming for sure, and we'll do something else with her someday. We also have the Art of Music Supervision that Tony's going to be hosting. It's got some amazing music supervisors talking about trailers, which was touched upon here in this conversation. And then the next day we have the Art of Composition, which is going to kind of dive really deeply into scoring epically with the amazing Laura Cartman, the wonderful Natalie Holt, and Nora Kroll Rosenbaum. So that's going to get a really deep dive into the composition process with Adrian Ellis, who's here somewhere. There you are. So Adrian's from the Screen Composers Guild of Canada. If any composers here should talk to him. And then we're going to close things, well, not quite close things off, but with music from Daughter of a Lost Bird, which is a beautiful First Nations film. We have the director, Brooke Pepion-Swanee, and Laura Ortman, the composer. It's going to feel probably like a case study in a workshop. Lots of clips and examples, and a special performance by Laura Ortman at the beginning. And then a little break, and then the closing keynote with our own Angela Elster, the president of the VSO, and Laura Cartman herself. So anyway, that's the program. For those of you who already know it, but I just thought I'd rejig it. Anyway, thank you very much. Thanks, Jane. Thanks, Kinga. Thanks, VIFF team. Thanks to all the techs and everybody. And we'll see you tomorrow if you're all here. Take care.